is bad. Let's bring in Wendy Patrick. She's a defense attorney, very experienced, seen a lot of things in her life, dealt with a lot of law enforcement. So I want to talk a little bit about the FBI investigation, Wendy, in the sense that it's going on as we speak. And FBI agents go out, and I assume there's about a dozen people they can speak with direct knowledge of the accusations, and they listen to them, right? I mean, it's not a grilling. You can't lie to an FBI agent. That's a crime. So the people being interviewed, it's a serious situation. But it's basically fact-finding, right?
That's right. You know, I'm a prosecutor now. I've been a prosecutor for about 22 years. I started my career, though, Bill, as a defense attorney, and I can tell you from both sides of the aisle exactly what's happening right now. You're right. It's not a fact-finding expedition in terms of assessing credibility. It's simply an investigation-gathering exercise. Now, why is that important? Because remember what their charge was. They have a week to do what? Not to decide who's telling the truth, but to be able to interview credible leads. Now, all of the people that are speaking up about, well, why is this so-and-so not being interviewed? Credible leads is their charge, and credible leads is what they're going to track down. That doesn't mean that they have the license to just make this a free-for-all and go wherever this investigation takes them. This isn't the Mueller probe. So that is one of the reasons that this absolutely will be done within a week, is they are narrowing it to credible leads that are relevant to what they're asked to investigate. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be all about Judge Kavanaugh's drinking patterns in high school. Sure, it's relevant, and it is relevant to your excellent point earlier about whether he lied in the hearing, but it is not the basis of the charge. So they're going to be looking at talking to people that have some relevance that can bear upon Dr. Ford's testimony. That's it.
Okay, two things. The Democratic Party has already gone on record as saying, well, even though the FBI is investigating, and that's what we asked for, it's too short. Can't happen. They can't do it. So it'll be not relevant. The investigation is not really important because they can't do it in that short period of time. Will you say?
I say they absolutely can. How many days did it take in the Anita Hill investigation? 3. Not only that, this is narrower than that investigation. The FBI has an enormous amount of agents and resources at its disposal. It is a very capable institution, and it is able to do this investigation in a week. Not only that, Bill, remember what they said, a week or less. Who's to say we don't have some sort of a report, at least a preliminary report delivered to the White House, maybe as early as Wednesday or Thursday?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on that. But the second charge is that Trump is micromanaging the FBI investigation, and the charge is raised because the Avenatti insanity isn't being looked at, apparently. The woman who says there were 10 parties where gang rapes were taking place, which is so far out of reality. And now the woman is passed, is checkered. So apparently the FBI is not even getting into that. It's 2 charges, one by Dr. Ford and the other one while he was at Yale that he rubbed up against somebody or something. The FBI agents who do these investigations, a lot of people are very suspect because of what we saw in the Mueller investigation with Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and all of that. So conservatives are saying, hey, is this the same crew that hates Trump going out to investigate Brett Kavanaugh? Do you have any worries about that?
You know, obviously I work with people in the FBI. I have enormous respect for the institution. Any institution is going to have some bad apples. And I think one of the things we saw taken very seriously was exactly that, was that in the Mueller probe and even beforehand, there were measures taken to rid people from the ranks that express that kind of animus, like Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Going forward here, the White House does not have the authority to call the shots. I'm sure the president would love to narrow the investigation himself, but he doesn't have that authority. That's been delegated to the FBI. But like you say, one of the reasons they are not investigating Avenatti's client is their charge was to look up and look through credible allegations.
Right, and credible allegations. But the other thing is that James Comey writes an op-ed in the New York Times, former FBI chief, and basically says, hey, you know, Trump is an idiot and the FBI should have as much time as they want and blah, 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 taking the Democratic side. No surprise. Comey makes his money from those precincts, sells his books in those precincts, has always been, in my opinion, politically activist guy, even when he was running the FBI. But he comes right out and says, oh, no, FBI shouldn't have these restraints, that Trump may be micromanaging them, blah, 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 blah. He's the former FBI chief.
I know, and I share some of your sentiments, and that's why it's an op-ed, not an on-the-ground reporting piece. But this is a limited investigation. It's limited in scope. It's limited in time. It is so unlike the type of investigation that the FBI is used to doing. That is clear. Nobody's going to disagree with that. But because it has parameters, it is not going to be the runaway train that former Director Comey or anybody else that worries about it is going to see. Limited in scope, limited in time means we are likely to actually have it done in a week.
Here's my last question. As everybody knows, Judge Kavanaugh was vetted 6 times by the FBI for various appointments in other courts. Wouldn't the FBI have known on those background checks, 6 separate background checks, if he were some kind of out-of-control high school kid or out-of-control college kid? Because the allegations now are solely on what he allegedly did in high school and what he allegedly did at Yale. Wouldn't the FBI have uncovered that in their background checks?
That's right, Bill. 6 prior checks. Most people joke they couldn't survive 1. He survived 6, and that is part of what they look at. They look at character. They look at temperament. They look at the kinds of things that were discussed last Thursday that, as far as we know, have never been raised before. And that's one of the reasons that so many are saying, hey, look, a tiger doesn't change his stripes. Why all of a sudden do we have all this information? Maybe they should look at the last 30 years instead of what went on in high school. But even then, as you say, we at least have no indication that any of that was raised the rest of those 6 times. So it'll be interesting to see if they find anything now.
And on Dr. Ford, just by the very nature of the questioning about Kavanaugh, Ford's accusations then come into line. Because if the FBI doesn't find anything to back up anything she says, how are they going to portray Ford? How would the FBI portray the accuser in their final report?
Well, I think this should be portrayed as simply allegations that were unfounded, unsubstantiated. You know, the sentiment on the street by a lot of people that appear to be that she was assaulted, but Brett Kavanaugh was not the assailant. And questioning that is huge for a variety of reasons. I could go on for your whole show, but some of them will probably end up in the FBI report. Lack of corroboration is huge. It can't make a case go into criminal court that way. And it also won't hold the kind of water that it should in this investigation.
But I don't think the agents are going to cast doubt on Christine Ford. That would be politically incorrect. And
that's right.
Yeah, they won't besmirch her no matter what they find out, right?
That's right. They'll report the facts, or in this case, the lack thereof. And it'll be up to the senators. They're going to probably vote down party lines, just as they would have if we'd taken the vote Saturday.
Okay. All right, Wendy, thanks very much. We really appreciate it. I asked for you to be on because you see things from both sides. Prosecutor now, former defense attorney, have to deal with law enforcement all the time. And I think you gave us a pretty accurate picture of what's happening now. Thanks again, Wendy. Appreciate it.